How do you eat Oreos? Me too.
And then I lick the frosting off. Oh, I do not do that. I do the frosting first. I'm sure everybody would love to see this. You've seen me eat sushi, right? I take it apart.
No, you don't.
Yeah. I feel like you've commented on it.
I must have blocked it out of my memory.
I take apart the roll, and I eat each bit one by one, and that's how I handle my Oreos.
That's
too.
why we never go to sushi, I guess.
Yep, probably.
One time I went to get sushi with a friend's mom because she wanted to ask me art therapy questions. Mm-hmm. And this woman ate her sushi with a knife and fork. It was gnarly.
Wow, that is... I don't use a knife.
She
Rarely I use a fork. I do use chopsticks at least.
I'm Katie.
And I'm Caitlin. And this is the Who Has Time for This podcast, where we delve into complex topics through the lens of our own unique perspectives. And you know what? We don't have time for this, but we're doing it anyway.
For you.
For you. So that we can all work together to stay engaged and informed.
Girl dinner. Girl math. Girl bossing too close to the sun. I'm just a girl. I'm just a silly little girl. I got a lazy girl job. Girl everything is our topic today.
Yep. So much girl.
So little time.
Yeah.
So, the first time I heard the term girl dinner, I immediately recoiled and didn't fully, understand my reaction. I was just absolutely not. And it was just it's a harmless TikTok trend, right? But I'm somebody, I just hate the, gendering of most things. I think it's unnecessary in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. But this ick felt like it was running really much deeper than a cutesy internet trend for me. Every time I saw a girl something post, that awful feeling was creeping up and creeping up. And I was really excited to do this topic so that I could sit down and collect my thoughts and organize them about why my reaction was so visceral for these harmless posts. So a lot of times when people get negative reactions to girl dinner or something, there's the sentiment that it's met with is it's just a joke or it isn't that serious. But I think that jokes like this can be a really slippery slope. Mm-hmm. And I'm all for finding little pockets of lighthearted fun in a world that is burning. But this isn't it for me.
Right. I agree.
So people, our listener might disagree
Hi, Mom.
with us. And that's totally fine. But we're here to talk about our thoughts and opinions on this trend that's happening and some of the more concerning underlying things.
Yeah. So for me, I see right the line from these silly little girl things straight to how they help the proliferation of the Make America Healthy Again movement or the MAGA influencer uprising. And I'm going to talk about this more at the end because we kind of have to get through the various girl topics, girl dinner, the girl math, all of it. So we'll get to that later, but just know the girls, they lead to MAGA. And it is unfortunate.
And it did this whole movement I think did start fairly self-aware, but again it's a slippery slope because when you start posting these sort of self-aware things, but then people aren't really looking into what the nuance of the topic is, which we have talked about before on this podcast.
Yep.
These like sort of self-infantilizing posts have now like started to come up more unironically now.
Yep.
So, and it's harmful for like young girls to see these when they don't understand that it's supposed to be self-aware and making a comment on things. They're just seeing it as, oh, I got a lazy girl job. Oh, like girl math, like, and these young girls have not, developed these critical thinking skills yet. So they begin to see these harmful traits and aspire to them. So it seems like the beginning of these gendered memes trending started with the Just a Girl posts. So Just a Girl, was a song that, by no doubt, that was seen as a feminist anthem. And there is a lot of messiness when you look back at this. If you look at like Gwen Stefani's interviews at the time, she shares a lot of like conservative history and conservative expectations of herself. She's a very complicated figure, and we're not going to delve into her because this is not about her. You can see that she kind of conformed to like the assigning of herself as a punk feminist icon, really just to profit off of what it could give her. And if you listen to one of my favorite podcasts, A Bit Fruity with Matt Bernstein, he actually just put out an episode all about Gwen Stefani and delving into her history and, how she's kind of turned into this almost fascist figure these days.
And really quick, can I just put in an aside?
Yeah.
The whole irony about this is, or I don't know if you'd call it irony, but Michael Moore, the infamous director of various documentaries, he has a theory that it was Gwen Stefani who prompted Trump to run for president in 2016, not overtly, but according to Moore, when he was, I believe this was in his documentary Fahrenheit 11/9, which talked about the 2016 election, but in the documentary and in the lead up when he was doing, promoting it, he talked about that Trump heard that Gwen Stefani's salary as a judge on The Voice was more than his salary as the host of The Apprentice, and he was mad about it, and so he wanted to show the TV stations that he was still relevant and deserved more money or whatever. So he was like, I'm going to run for president. He had apparently been talking about running for president for like decades, and he just never did because what's in it for him? He's a billionaire. And but that, I get, according to Michael Moore, pushed him over the edge.
That is so crazy.
It is
so thanks, Gwen.
funny that we're talking about this now. Sad and depressing, but here we are.
Well, so Gwen Stefani and Donald Trump aside, Just a Girl, the song, was revered as a feminist anthem by listeners. Like, I viewed it that way. I loved that song, like, in middle school and high school. And so its titular phrase became a TikTok trend a few years ago. And Just a Girl was originally being used in social media posts as a comment on how, like, in this sort of patriarchal society, we weren't equipping women with skills that were reserved for men, like car maintenance and things like that. But the nuance really has been lost since the beginning of this trend, and now its meaning has become distorted. So the trend seems to be just upholding these like girl tasks and boy tasks as separate things. You say you're just a girl, so you can't change the oil in your car because nobody taught you. Well, if that's true, then your husband can't do the household cleaning because he's just a boy. Like, these gendered
sure he likes that reasoning. Yeah.
But now, like, the gendered expectations have, like, a fun new rebrand. That's how I see it.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Speaking of rebranding, dinner has also entered its rebranding era.
Yep.
Girl dinner is the thing. Like, there's even a dictionary.com definition of girl dinner out there. The informal term girl dinner is used to refer to a meal typically consisting of snacks, side dishes, and small portions of often randomly assembled foods. And, I personally think that there's already too many fake variables dividing the people in the world by gender. Why do we need to add more? Like, girl dinner is a charcuterie plate. Why does it have to have a gender?
Right. I mean, I feel like everyone can enjoy a good charcuterie plate, not just a girl.
Yeah.
And,
and my other thought to this, like, you know, the girl dinner being picking all these small scraps, is it brings up to my mind a vision of, like, you know, the moms who have to eat the scraps of what they have, like, lovingly created for their family.
They don't have time.
Because they don't have time. She's overworked. The labor is not divided evenly in the house. Mom's making sure to give her husband and her children complete, you know, balanced, healthy meals, but she is not worth the time or the effort herself. So she's just taking little bites of what she can here and there, like eating the crusts that she's cut off of her kids' sandwiches, stuff like that.
Absolutely. And a quick thought on that. So I think our generation of husbands and dads have come a long way from that. And I say this because in my own life, like, this happens to me a lot. I am often eating crusts and whatever.
Yeah.
But it's less because I've been dutifully doing things for my family at the expense of my time, and more just like we are all living the hectic life of everybody's working 9 to 5. We got to pick them up from daycare. We have like 1 hour before it's bedtime, blah, blah, blah.
That's also very true.
And it's true for us. But it's not true for like the generations before us. Exactly what you were saying. It was the norm and still is the norm for a lot of people. But I do think this generation of dads is a little bit more self-aware.
Yeah,
maybe?
well, at least, like, I think at least, you know, in this blue area that we live in. Yeah. But maybe not everywhere.
Oh, for sure. And I'm not saying this to negate what you're saying. I'm saying it because it bridges a divide that we're going to talk about later with the rise of gender essentialism and such. So I'm saying in my life that I see a lot of Instagram content right now where it's like millennial dads changed more diapers than the dads before them. So I'm trying to bridge that. Like, we have gotten finally to a point where this girl dinner stuff is really damaging. Yes. Because we have come a long way. Let's keep going
forward, not let girl dinner bring us back.
I guess that's my point in my tangent, is that we have started to come a long way, and these girl dinner, girl math, girl everything is just like injecting this little like hurdle that is kind of pushing us backwards now. Back
to girl dinner and things that we find off about it. And again, you might just think, Caitlin and Katie, what are you talking about? This is just a silly little fun thing.
Yeah.
Maybe it is.
Maybe it is. Maybe it's not.
But another thing that, you know, seems off to me is that not all girls eat this like dainty little snack for a meal. And that is, I think, you know, a lot of people are posting like giant girl dinners, but that's clearly like satirical. I think like that is one of the themes. It's like small little things.
Yeah.
But so women and girls are like, we're constantly being fed the message that we need to be smaller and take up less space. So this is like demanded of both our physicality, so like eating less, but also like with our personalities. You know, women who show like assertiveness are labeled as aggressive. Women who show depth of emotion are like on their period or they can't control themselves. And women who like take on leadership positions, they are often called like unlikable when they're just showing the same behaviors that their male counterparts show.
Yep.
So the concept of like shrinking our meals to girl dinner seems to be like another way that we're being told to be smaller and to take up less space. Like, don't eat a real meal. Just pick at these little small things like you're a dainty little bird.
Yep. And then to add another layer is girl dinner giving disordered eating. Are we saying like eat less and don't nourish yourself? We'll leave that open-ended because...
Yeah, because again, like... Not all the posts are doing that, but there are certainly people out there on social media using girl dinner to promote disordered eating.
Absolutely. Yep.
And again, talking about like the young girls out there who are seeing that.
Right, exactly.
You know, TikToks.
Yep, young girls, teenagers, wanting to fit in, do the next trendy thing, and if girl dinner is just a handful of nuts and a piece of cheese, that's not dinner. That's not my dinner.
Reminding me of like in Devil Wears Prada when Emily Blunt's character is like, I'm trying this new diet where I don't eat, and then when I feel like I'm going to faint, I eat a cube of cheese.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
So girl dinner brings us to what I think is like the most dangerous of these girl things is girl math. So girl math. Girl math is sort of using flawed logic to make it seem like purchases are worth less money than you actually spent. So like if you bought something on your credit card, it was free. Or if you bought something on sale, even though you spent money to buy it, you're saving money.
Even though really you just, if you didn't need it, you just don't buy it and then you don't spend money.
And then there's also like, you know, sort of logical things that are like just cost per wear. So like if you buy something more expensive but you can wear it more often, I mean that is good. That's a good way to use your money.
Yep.
But it's, you know, being paired with all these other like sort of non-logical scenarios.
Right. And the bottom line is just like showing girls as being silly with money and how they choose to spend their money. And that is not how we want personal finance to be portrayed to the next generation of women coming into their own on social media.
Like, it's essentially reckless spending. It's like, does this mean that girls are incapable of being sensible and restrained? Like, it reinforces the stereotype that, you know, women are indulgent shoppers compared to men. And something that's already, like, that's a hurdle for most women because of the reality of, like, we have to spend more money to live up to these beauty standards that are set by the patriarchy. Why do we have to gender math?
Right, exactly.
Women already have such a hard time being taken seriously in math-driven fields. So, like, there are studies out there that show that girls outperform boys in elementary school, but this trend tends to reverse in high school and college. So, is this because of these stereotypes that are being, like, you know, shown to women over and over again? There was a 2021 study in China that asked school kids if boys are better than girls at math. And they, you know, all the kids that they asked, like, the majority answered that yes, boys are better than girls at math. But statistically, girls outperform boys in math in China. So, like, they had this skewed perspective of what was, like, actually happening. And it has been shown that these stereotypes negatively affect girls. Like, for instance, they're less likely to join, like, a math-related extracurricular activity, or, you know, they don't work as hard on improving their math skills, or go into math-related fields. So this joke does contribute to negative consequences and stereotypes.
For me, girl math is a personal finance thing, but it's also what you just talked about the perception of who is better at math, boys or girls. Women are experienced and qualified with numbers, but this TikTok trend is telling girls that they aren't, and it's just not true. Think of that movie Hidden Figures. I never saw it, to be honest, but I know it's about like these women mathematicians who helped NASA, right?
Yeah.
NASA.
Sorry. They helped NASA.
I don't know what I'm saying. Sorry. These three women mathematicians that worked for NASA. It's kind of a big deal. And then there is another woman, I'm going to butcher her name, sorry, Shakuntala Devi, who is known as the human computer and holds a world record for the fastest human computation. And in the 90s, there was this Latvian mathematician named Danian Tamina, also a woman, who solved a complex problem that had eluded mathematicians for centuries. So women are more than capable of really amazing mathematical skill. And, you know, somebody entering a woman entering a STEM program in school, she's going to walk into her lecture and just see a sea of male faces. So like she's subliminally being told, I don't belong here. And she has to make her way through that and stand on her own and prove herself. And then we have this social media campaign basically amplifying that idea when really all she needs to do is just practice her talents that clearly drove her toward this career or whatever, education trajectory. And it should just be like don't even think about it, but like it's like goes against the story we tell ourselves about women.
And all of these subliminal messaging we get, or not really subliminal, but like all of this messaging we get, like just makes us less likely to pursue those paths.
Yep, exactly. And then as it relates to, well, we're going to get into this more a little bit later, but like the financial responsibility idea, and it's been documented that women save less on average, and you could direct that to the gender pay gap, that you earn less, you're going to save less, and the whole like when you become a mother and you take time away from the workforce and you go back in, then you end up earning less in the long run than your husband does.
Or you have to go part-time because you can't afford childcare full-time. Yeah.
Exactly. So yes, women do save less because of these like specific systemic things, but that's not to say it's because they're bad with money, but girl math would have you think otherwise.
Because they had to get a silly little girl treat.
Yep. Or they had to use all their credit card points on Taylor Swift tickets, but like how did they get those credit card points to begin with?
Yeah.
And is their credit card paid off? I don't know. Probably not.
And speaking of girls who are killing it in the financial world, remember, don't girl boss too close to the sun.
Yep. So now we're going to talk about the girl boss of it all. So, girl boss. Okay, there's a couple of different facets of girl boss. One is the book Girl Boss, which I think kind of started the whole girl boss phenomenon. It's just talking about being a boss at what you do and advancing your career, and that's great. And then there's
dealing with like the misogyny in the world of being a leader.
Yep.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then there's the community and website Girl Boss, which I think is an offspring of the book, but that's all great. It's a lifestyle publication and generally resources for women who are trying to advance far in their careers and girl bossing, and that's all good. But what I want to specifically talk about as it relates to these more toxic girl trends is the unintended consequences of girl bossing, and I will reference a Substack article that I read called Was the Girlboss by Moira Donnegan, and we're going to talk about girl boss and how it kind of blew up feminism in its face and how that relates to where we stand today in our deeply polarized gender essentialism climate. So, the girl boss, according to Ms. Donnegan, is a stereotype, or it has become a stereotype. It's like a millennial, white, straight woman who represented women's professional ambition. The girl boss rose to prominence from 2016 to 2020 after Hillary Clinton's loss, but before the pandemic. So it's like this idea that the girl bosses came together to rise up over Hillary's loss.
At a time where we thought that that's as bad as it would get.
Yeah, at a time when we thought that was bad
And look at us now.
Look at where we are now. A girl boss didn't have to be particularly successful, but the most famous examples were women in certain tax brackets. So, higher earning people. Her defining feature is her earnestness, the sense that for her, the stakes of her professional trajectory we're bound up with her identity. So we're talking about the girl who is leaning in to work. And that's not to say that this is bad, but girl boss became a thing that could be waved in our faces by... We'll get to that later. But
By who?
By the conservative girly pops that we're going to talk about in a little while. So the girl boss also could be mean and put her colleagues under the bus in the pursuits of her ambition. And this is where the girl boss and her transgressions became fodder to condemn all of the second wave of feminism that has proliferated since like the 70s. And she flew too close to the sun, and now she became the poster child for the downfall or perceived downfalls of feminism. And she's been held up as the prime example of all the ways feminism has gone astray. A sentiment that was usually expressed in a rhetorical question: why would you want women to have more power in an unjust system? Enter the trad wives of it all.
That brings us to our finale of sorts.
Yes.
We'll delve a little bit into gender essentialism. So I just got like the Wikipedia definition for gender essentialism. It's a theory that there are certain universal, innate, biologically or psychologically based features of gender that are the root of many group differences observed in the behavior of men and women. So it's like rooted in the fact that there are only two genders, which is incorrect, and that women in many ways are inferior to men, which is also incorrect. And it's just wrong for lots and lots of scientifically proven reasons.
Yep.
And we'll get into those trad wives.
Yeah, so going back to earlier, that question posed by Moira Donnegan in her piece about the girl boss. Why would you want women to have more power in an unjust system? So this is like basically today's conservative answer to the work that like Gloria Steinem paved the way for. It's like, all right, you wanted women to enter the workforce, you wanted women to set their career paths, you wanted women to succeed, and yet here we are now. There's no paid leave, no federally mandated paid leave. Childcare costs $1 bazillion. There's still so much inequity and the pay gaps in the workplace. There's misogyny, there's sexual assault, etc. So trad wifery and conservative girl isms, I don't know how else to put it, are the answer to this. It's like, you know, some people, they're tired. They're tired of...
It's bad out there.
Of pushing against this wave that never seems to be able to break our way. And who doesn't want to go live on a farm and feed chickens while your husband goes to work and you're just carefree, living your life with your children? I said, who doesn't? I don't want to do that. So I don't know why I said it like that, but I guess
it is kind of like, who doesn't want to
be simpler, live a simpler life,
and not have to worry about earning the money. You can just kind of
not have to worry about paying for daycare when you are at the daycare. Not have to worry about earning money when your husband earns enough and you live off the salt of the earth of your little farm and your cows and your chickens, etc. Like,
even though this kind of life does come with a lot of other things that you have to worry about and concerns, and like, who was that woman that they wrote that
ballerina farm? Anna Nealman. Yep, that's the poster child of. No, she's not in my notes but she's the poster child of this trad wife content. And then
the scary control that her husband had over her entire life. So you're essentially giving up your control for sort of I'm a simple
what seems
girl,
on the surface
of
a simple life, a simple life that we should all return to. And then let's talk about the other side of this, is the marketing of this life. She's putting together, or not she specifically, I know she does, but generally the trad wife content is like beautiful shots of a video following my chickens with my little toddler's feet pitter-pattering next to me as I go about my farm chores and everything.
But there is sort of that contrast of, and I feel like that's for a whole other video, but like, you know, the stirring the butter, but like boobs out. Like,
boobs out.
It's kind of like an intersection of like traditional housewife and like porn expectations of a woman. It's this crazy
absolutely.
new weird phenomenon.
Yeah, yep. And then like you're a young 20-something burnt out by the grind that that it feels like feminism has inadvertently pushed.
Yeah.
You know, inadvertently. And
trying to fit into a patriarchal world.
And you're scrolling through and you see, oh, this beautiful pastoral farm life, these beautifully shot photos and videos, and look at this woman having such a peaceful life where she's not waking up at 5 a.m. to go to the gym and then get on the subway to go work at the bank and grind and climb up the corporate ladder and put off having kids forever because you don't have enough money yet. And it just seems a lot simpler. So,
yes.
So enter MAGA, basically, or not so much MAGA as the whole right-wing media ecosphere that has been pumping money into influencers on social media and podcasts, etc., that portray this like more ideal, simple life that's really another word for paternalism and patriarchy and having men rise back up to
their power, which like
the leaders of everything, the household.
They were never not like in power.
Exactly. And that's essentially what delivered the suburban white mom vote to Donald Trump because, hey, I get it. I'm a suburban white mom and I am sick of everything that makes it really hard to be a mom and work in this world. And I want change, but I see change much differently than what this movement would have you believe. And it's worth fighting for, in my opinion. And I just want to point out that the girl math, the girl dinner, the downfall of the girl boss, the gender essentialism of it all has given us this counter cultural movement towards putting women back in the house, putting men back in the world. I mean, not back. They've, like you just said, they've been in the world. But it's not good. Well, we talked about Ballerina Farm. She's like the trad wife poster child. And then
if you haven't, like, just Google Ballerina Farm and there's an interesting article where somebody interviewed her about like what her life is like. And, you know, she makes it seem like it's nice, but like
read between the lines.
Not.
Yeah. And then my favorite influencer in the world, Emily in Your Phone on Instagram. Emily Amick.
To the second episode to get an Emily in Your Phone shout out.
Emily in Your Phone is mother. And I hope she maybe one day will hear this. But she is... she's done a lot of work to give context to the trad wife and MAGA and MAHA movement. And I'm not going to get into so much about MAHA, Make America Healthy Again, because that's like that.
We can do a whole other thing.
Separate. Yeah. I mean, it has roots in this, but that's a whole other thing, a whole other episode. But she argues that, like I said, the right has funneled money into this trad wife simplification of women's lives idea, and one particular influencer she says to watch out for is Candace Owens, and I'm choosing her because I talked a little bit earlier about Gloria Steinem and second wave feminism, and Candace has like a whole lifestyle website, and she's doing workout videos and talking about fitting in those 20-minute workouts while your baby's napping, etc. Like very relatable content for a working mom. But then she just released a book, or is about to release a book called make him a sandwich.
Oh my God.
Why real women don't need fake feminism. And the cover of her book is her holding up a sign that says make him a sandwich, and it's shot in the same way and color scheme as the Gloria Steinem "We Shall Overcome" protest sign.
I have like shivers.
Yeah.
That's horrifying.
And this is, I'm telling you, this is what Turning Point USA, etc., all those like right-wing groups are pushing money to like promote these people and their ways of life, and to make it be like, it's okay, you can step back from your grind, you can make him a sandwich, you're not a bad woman if you do that. And like, I want to say, if you want to be a stay-at-home mom,
mom, be like awesome,
do it. It's your choice.
Yeah,
it should be your choice.
And I think a big thing too is like the perspective of like us looking at stay-at-home moms. It's like, that is a 24/7 job.
Yeah,
and it should be treated like a job. Whereas in this sort of trad wife like life, it's not treated like a job. It's the man has all the power and controls the woman. Yep,
controls the purse, controls the household, controls everything. The woman is there. It all revolves around
serving the man rather than taking care of the house as an equal contribution.
Yeah. And again, like I was saying before about like millennial dads changing more diapers than their dads ever did or whatever. We've like come really far, and now this is something that is very capable of setting us back. Sometimes when some family members see how my husband Jason like is just playing with our children, they're like, "Oh my God, what a great dad!" I'm like, he plays with them more than I do. Let me tell you, I don't even like playing with
Or like
kids.
when a dad is like with his child and they're like, "Oh, he's babysitting." And it's like, no, he's just the father of this child.
He's just there.
But anyway, all of this brings us to the SAVE Act.
Yes, the SAVE Act. Okay. Ideally, this is not something that's going to like have a reality beyond the Senate. It has passed the House. I think it's gone back to the House for whatever. Highly unlikely given the state of number of seats and etc. in the Senate for it to pass. So don't panic yet, but be on the lookout, because the SAVE Act would require that most voters show a passport or birth certificate, so documents that prove you're a U.S. citizen, to register to vote. And obviously the whole like front for this idea is to make it so that illegal, quote unquote, aliens, I would say undocumented immigrants, can't vote, which we all know does not happen. And it's already a crime for that to happen anyway. But anyway, you know, they're doubling down. Many would argue that this is really just a front to make it harder for all sorts of people to vote, including women who have been married and changed their name.
And like transgender people who have changed their name. Because essentially like your passport would have to match the name like on your birth certificate. And
you had a different name when you were born.
Yeah, so it's essentially like making it so that women who are married and like
change the name.
Trans community could not vote. Kind of bringing it into this era that we're entering of like anti-trans rhetoric and policy and stuff. Like we're sort of in this time in our history where more people are like openly gender nonconforming than like we've seen. And like it's, you know, it's been being normalized more than we've seen like in recent history. So, you know, why is it that these gendered posts have become so viral at this time? Is it like a response to like getting back to the binary? You know, is it like some sort of conservative rebellion to the fact that more people are like living authentically as themselves? I don't know, it's just like, it's a coincidence to me, maybe, that like these posts are rising at the same time as anti-trans rhetoric and policy is rising. And yeah, obviously like correlation does not mean causation. Right. But I think it's worth exploring. Like maybe it isn't that deep, but it's like, it lines up unsettlingly well with me. And like, I don't know, these posts don't just harm women and girls and people like that aren't in the gender binary, but like much like the patriarchy itself, they also harm men.
Yeah.
The patriarchy is not good for men either. And like, anyway, I could talk about that all day. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. Like, what about a man who wants to eat small snacks like a girl dinner? Is he not a man? What if a man is like excited to buy something on sale, or he wants to get himself like a little treat? Does that mean like he doesn't have masculinity? Like, the binary and this arbitrary separation of the genders, it just seems to me to like signal like a more nefarious trends on the horizon. So, and I read this article written by Samantha Allen, who did an interview with a journalist named James Factora, and it was like, is this the canary in the coal mine? Mm-hmm. Is this leading towards something more sinister for us? Is it just showing us where things are headed?
Yeah, I mean, I would think that it absolutely is, and I think that this, again, paternalistic life where the woman is home and the man controls everything is being repackaged as the new American dream against the grind that we're all tired of. Mm-hmm. We're all tired of, but there's different answers to it.
Yes.
There's different answers to it. And right now, unfortunately, we really need to fight to make sure we can get to those different answers that would come with a different administration and a different viewpoint and a different project of a different year.
Oh my
if
God.
You catch my drift. Yep. And that's, I mean, that in a nutshell is why we are here making time, even though who has time for this like shenanigans?
I don't have time for this.
I don't have time.
I gotta go to work.
I don't have time to regress back to the 1950s, okay?
Yeah.
I like my work, I like my kids, I like my life, and I want everyone to feel the same way about their own life and their own choices, and they have that freedom to do so.
Well, in the theme of not having time for this, Caitlin, what are you making time for this week?
It's right now as we're recording this, we're at the end of Q1 of 2025, and every year I make goals for myself for the year.
Oh my gosh, you're so
like
organized.
It's one of the very few things I'm organized about. It's a whole spreadsheet, and I like to look at it every quarter and see where I am on those goals. So I am going to do that this week, and taking a page out of my dear Emily in Your Phone's book, she suggests to make a done list when you're thinking about like your goals, and to make you give you a little pep in your step. So I'm gonna be looking at my doing my quarterly review through that lens. Like, what have I done? Mark, check mark, and then what is coming up for me.
Cool.
How about you?
Well, I got a haircut yesterday.
Oh, it looks great. I forgot to mention that.
I cut my own hair for 15 years. So
and
this is like the second this is like the second professional haircut I've gotten in a long time. I also, if you're watching and not just listening, I dyed underneath my bangs pink to match underneath my hair. So, you know what?
Really good.
I'm making time for my hair this week.
Good. We all need to do things that make us feel good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Taking care of our hair is one of those things.
Well, again, thank you all. Or maybe just you one. Maybe
a few people.
The ghosts. Thank you for listening. Yes. And we will see you next time on Who Has Time for This?
Not us.